Well, hello, LinkedIn, X, Twitch, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. My name is Frank Lavinia, and I am excited to be back in the office again, doing live streams the way nature intended on broadband internet that is reliable and fast. I promise I won't complain much more about the bad situation at the cabin we were in the Smoky Mountains, because I think you all are very tired of hearing about it. But I want to point out a couple of things here. This kind of idea came, and I wanted to put it out there to the universe to see how it goes, to see what you all think. But it's really the idea that, you know, think about bias in AI, right? And this is particularly around facial recognition. Now, there are a number of ways to address it, but when you consider um, the daunting task of mitigating bias in AI, it's very easy to kind of, there's two kind of responses to it. One, run away and denounce AI from the rooftops. Two is to just see what you can do to mitigate it, like get the engineer in that. Now there have been multiple attempts at this, and some have gone better than others. I think Google is I don't want to say poster child, but it's certainly some of their efforts have been an example of how not to do things. In fact, actually, as recently as last week, they had, you can't generate an image of a person because there were some concerns about what they would inject into the prompt, and made things that were kind of, well, controversial to say the least. So that got me thinking. Um, that got me thinking about how can we address this, right? Because in some eyes, in some sense, bias is really something that, while you can test for, you can't really guarantee, right? It's a bit, if you look at it like um, a security evaluation, if you know, that is a very well thought out field in terms of how they assess risk and set up controls and things like that. I think we can borrow a lot from that world. We can borrow a lot from what they implement in terms of testing for controls, setting up controls. They have definitely I wouldn't say they figured it out, but they have definitely further along than say necessarily the AI field is. And I think ultimately, I think it really boils down. There is no silver bullet, right? But I think a lot of the problems that we face in AI in terms of bias and ethics can just be simply at least brought up at the table, if not completely solved, just by asking the question, what if the AI is wrong? What if you incarcerate someone based on a bad read on a facial recognition scan, right? What do you do that? Like, what do you do that? And I think the counter argument to that is, well, not the counter argument, the complementary argument to that is, maybe we should start assuming these machines, that these algorithms do carry a bias, even if it's a bias we haven't detected yet. And again, I'll pull on the world of security, where they have the philosophy of assume breach, right? And this basically led to zero trust, right? You have to assume your enterprise has been breached, your organization has been breached, so you have to set up controls to protect certain assets and implement a zero trust infrastructure. And I think we need to borrow some of that philosophy of zero trust, grain of saltedness, I also heard it called, uh, to actually, I didn't hear it called that. I just made that up. Um, but to kind of leverage the experience in a parallel field and kind of bring it to this, where if we can't solve it, we can at least set up schemes to protect and limit and mitigate the damage that it could cause. I think, I keep going back to the case of that poor guy in Texas. I forget his name, who was actually not able, he was incarcerated in another state, like in California, but he was arrested in Houston for, um, he was charged with committing a crime while he was incarcerated. And I think, and some other bad, very bad things happened to him after that, unfortunately. But um, that could happen to any one of us. And I think whoever decided to make the facial recognition the sole determinator. That's not a good thing. The facial recognition scan to be the sole determinant. I think that's the right word. To lock somebody up. I think that's where one of the places that the system broke down. And again, with facial recognition, these algorithms that are out there, they have range in terms of, I think, 128 landmarks and face points on the face, right? So like here, like how big your chin is, blah, 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 blah. Your eyebrows, your distance between your nostrils and your eye sockets. Most good grade systems use 64, but I've heard of systems that are out there and deployed with as little as 4 landmark points, right? So basically here, and here, and the distance between them determines your identity, which is not enough, in my opinion, to warrant locking somebody up. I think that we need to have a higher standard for that. And of course, unfortunately, the nature of this technology not necessarily being out in the open is we don't know what company that, I believe it was Macy's or Sunglass Hut, we don't know the nature of it. We don't know the nature or the quality of the image that was scanned, right? And if you're just going by 4 landmarks, then there's an easy chance that you're going to be mislabeled. And again, we can approach it from kind of the engineering point of view. Hey, let's get more landmarks. Let's make it more foolproof. Yes, that'll work, but that'll only work until we detect that it doesn't work. And then that's why I think that the security field really can be a good lighthouse for the AI world in terms of dealing with this problem. Is that maybe we have to take a page from their book in the sense that they just assume that there's a breach and they set up systems based around zero trust that limit the scope of the damage, right? And they set up controls and things. I'm not a cybersecurity expert. I never even played one on TV, and I certainly didn't stay on a Holiday Inn last night. And for those of you wondering, what is he talking about? These are all commercials. But I do know somewhere where you can get yourself skilled, and they don't pay me for sponsoring them, mentioning them or anything like that, right? This is all just, I like what they're doing. You've heard me mention Humble Bundle before. Oops. How do I get this so it's nice and, ooh. All right. So you've heard me mention Humble Bundle before, and let's try that. That's a little better. So they actually have books. Primarily, it's a gaming site, but for the most part, if you want to get into cybersecurity, they have a lot of resources. I actually picked this up today. It's by Pact, Threat Intelligence, and for $18, you get 17 books. This is the one that particularly interested me. This was ChatGPT for Cybersecurity Cookbook. I found that particularly interesting. However, while I'm still chatting, I will do a shameless plug for the podcast. We released 2 episodes today. This was from the live stream from the other day. Andy and I were just kind of talking about updates and things like that, including my new job here at Red Hat, where I'm the principal technical marketing manager for a RHEL AI product. I will have a lot more to say about that in the near future. But for now, I recommend go check it out or use your search engine of choice and look up InstructLab and start poking around there. I will do a live stream based on that. I just want to make sure that I have permission to show the demos just yet. Which reminds me, I will send that Slack message right here before I go pick up the little guy. Again, Andy and I released 2 episodes today. This is the live stream. I repackaged and repurposed the content. Now, not everyone watches the streams. Not everyone follows me on LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. Not everyone watches the YouTube channel. But so I figured I would repurpose that. And we had a great conversation that I also wanted to get up there because I figure people are probably sick of hearing me and Andy bang on about stuff. and me complain about all the lawyers I've had to interact with in the last year and a half. But this year, we had a great show by Doug Fink. He was on the show, and it was an awesome conversation about PowerShell, AI, and the future of small language models. I first was introduced to the notion of a small language model, I would say back in like January, February-ish. I thought it was a quaint idea, a cute idea. And I was reintroduced to it to about maybe 3 months ago when someone was referring to a 7 billion parameter model as being a small language model, which I was like, well, that's small. And my person I was speaking to said, well, in the context of, Llama and ChatGPT and Claude having hundreds of billions of parameters, I think the highest number I've heard officially announced is 700 billion. 7 seems kind of small. I like to use the example of hard drives. At one point, this is a 4 terabyte hard drive. And I know, random thing on my desk. But a 4 terabyte hard drive used to be not really commercially available. I mean, you can pick one of those up on Amazon for like $8. Actually, it's at Micro Center, and they're on sale for $69. The notion of what's large and small in IT gradually changes. I remember getting a 1.2 gig drive and how phenomenal and expensive that thing was, when I was in college. 1.2 gig, I get mad when I'm down to 1.2 gig on my phone because it starts giving me little love notes about, hey, you're almost out of memory. Hey, you're almost out of storage. So all of this is to say is that the notion of large and small is clearly a very fluid thing, but I think small language models are large enough to the point to be useful in small language models. So a small language model being, say, let's just say, we'll just pick an arbitrary number, under 10 billion parameters, is for the most part largely functional enough to do most specific tasks. Is it going to be confused with artificial general intelligence? No. But is ChatGPT, is 700 billion parameters? Who knows? But probably not. Although they did have that guy last summer claiming that the Google chatbot was sentient, was self-aware. Obviously by my eye roll, I clearly have telegraphed that I don't believe it. But I think it's interesting. I think small language models will also have particular advantages. One, that they're small. They're small enough that they could run on a phone, in a browser, maybe even in a browser on a phone. Who knows? But as phones get more processing power, more storage, it becomes feasible to run these on a device, whether that device is a telephone, whether that's an autonomous drone, whether that's an autonomous system of any kind. And let me show you just a quick thing here. If you go to sentientmarketingbook.com, this is a book I co-wrote with Candace, my co-author, and it's not letting me scroll, and I don't know why. I will also point out some interesting stuff I posted on franksworld.com. This is an awesome video, actually. This is Maria, I think her last name is Shah, or Shay. She always has some great tutorials. Her YouTube channel is called Python Simplified, I believe. Yeah, Python Simplified. But that's not the point I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about these two stories here. So what this is Chloe or Cleo Abrams did a video on, there we go. Did a video on how farming is being changed by robotics. And yeah, really cool video. She talks about drones. She talks about, using lasers instead of herbicides. Pretty cool stuff. But also, I think very germane to how this is working out is the rise, not just of drone warfare, in Ukraine, but also there have actually been sightings of robot dogs being used in Ukraine. And, is this how the Terminator franchise starts? Maybe. But if these things are remote controlled, it's not a stretch of the imagination for an adversary, whether it's a drone, whether it's robot dog or some other type of thing we can't even fathom yet. It is reasonable to assume that if they're radio controlled, that these systems have to deal with radio jamming, radio signal hijacking, all these sorts of things. It's also reasonable to assume that they would have some kind of way to operate on a device. Now, could they have a setup where it's next in this picture, the robot dog is next to the soldier? Could the robot soldier talk to the robot dog and kind of work with that? Obviously, in those scenarios, that has to be completely an offline model or a disconnected model. I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's both terrifying and interesting to see how this technology is being used in both warfare and food production. We certainly will live in a very interesting sci-fi future. Let's hope it's not a dystopian future. But with that in mind, I got to go. I'm going to end the stream. Thank you for watching. I see you all watching really good numbers today. If this is the first time you're watching me, hello. And here, all right. So now I know that apparently this is stored not on the server, but on the device as a cookie, I would presume. You can scan that. I actually have to update the price because it is now at the reduced price of $19.99 for a paperback, and I believe $9.99 for the Kindle version. So go check it out. Go scan that QR code right now and check it out. It is the lowest price it has ever been. And I spoke to my co-author. We're not planning on lowering the price anytime soon. So on the fence about picking this book up, pick it up now. And I need to edit that because it is actually $19.99. There we go. Did it change? It changed. Very nice. I got to step up so I can talk. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate you watching. Be sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. All that cool kid stuff. If you're watching this on whatever platform, be sure to leave a comment. And I see the chats. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I did update the price. It's no longer $29. It's now $19. So this right here, $19.99, is the correct price. And of course, you can party like $19.99. And with that terrible, terrible, terrible joke, I'm going to show myself out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you maybe tomorrow.